What's up, everybody? Welcome to Philly with John Marks on PHLY. Actually, still have my jacket here. I should have cleared it off of the way. What's up, everybody? On a Thursday morning, we're live at 8 a.m. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. Every morning, 8 to 9 a.m. live. We have an online community of chatters, mad chatters. So if you're able to watch live every morning at 8 o'clock, we welcome you and good morning to everybody out there. But you don't need to just watch live. It's YouTube. You can watch whenever you want to. But when you do, just make sure you're commenting. Whatever we're talking about, we'd love to see your comments and your feedback. So make sure you comment on the episode, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Philly with John Marks. You can listen to the audio podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, just search Philly with John Marks. Rate and review. 5-star reviews are appreciated. As we're here on a Thursday morning, it's the beginning of March Madness. I know they've had games. So, like, when I say that, I'll be like, oh, it's the start of March Madness, I'll get some wiseacre that's like, oh, they already had games. They had games last night. They had games the night before. I'm aware, okay? But the actual tournament, the tournament style starts today, the Thursday and Friday, the Saturday and the Sunday. Man, even for somebody like me, and I think a lot of people out there now that maybe don't watch as much college basketball as they once did, both locally and nationally. Locally, especially now with Jay Wright gone, I didn't watch any this year. Temple isn't even like, they might as well just fold the basketball program at this point. For a kid that grew up loving Temple basketball, now Nova's went downhill. The entire Big Five or the City Six hasn't had anything really in a long time except for Jay. So so then you're not watching it locally. And then nationally, like, I don't know if it's a combination of players leaving for the NBA early and you don't have a lot. I don't know. But I just don't watch a whole lot of college basketball anymore. However, once the tournaments hit, and I started watching this past weekend, but once the conference tournament hit, then you're paying attention, then you have Selection Sunday, and now you get into the actual tournament, which is amazing. So I'll go home today. I have a ton of laundry, and Tyler Zuli's here with me this morning. Today is the day that I'll be stripping the beds. So 4 beds, comforters, sheets, pillowcases, additional blankets on there, rotating getting them in the wash, changing, putting new sheets on, putting new comforters on. So it's always good when you have good stuff to watch when you're doing stuff like this. Every TV in the house is going to have the tournament on today. And I probably can't name more than 5 or 6 players in the entire tournament at this point. But it's still one of the great sports weekends of the year. What's up, Tyler? Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning to you as well. It is. I mean, it's because I'm with you. I kind of made a conscious effort at one point where I just said, I can't digest everything anymore. I just don't have the time for it like I used to. And I didn't want to give up the Sixers and the Flyers because we cover the Sixers and the Flyers in this city. And so college basketball kind of slipped under my radar a little bit. But you're right. To me, this is the best tournament of the year. Like, I love the NHL playoffs. I love Major League Baseball playoffs. I love the Masters, even though I'm not a big golf watching fan. I think the Masters weekend is really cool. But this is the best tournament of the year because you learn about players that you had never heard of before. There's always a Cinderella team that makes a run. You're talking about, is it going to be High Point? Is it going to be McNeese State? Is it going to be, who's UC San Diego, who as a 12 is only a 2.5-point dog against Michigan? Like,
Good line.
It's intriguing, right? There's so many storylines that are intriguing. You get into who's the best player in the tournament versus who's the best team. Like you brought up to me before the show, there is a chance that we could get a second-round matchup between Calipari and Pitino, which, now knowing that neither of those guys are at their kind of established programs anymore is really interesting to see.
It is, yeah.
Will Wade, the McNeese State coach, is rumored to be taking the NC State job before the tournament even starts. There's just so many storylines and intriguing stuff. Like, this is one of the most exciting weekends of the year. I know a lot of people take off this week. They, if you don't take off tomorrow or today, you take off tomorrow. That's like a tradition for a lot of people. Just a great sports weekend coming up.
Yeah, by Sunday night, I'll be an expert in college basketball.
Yeah, you're going to know exactly who everybody is.
And Monday morning, I'll come in here and I'll be talking about it. Like, I won't totally know everybody's names, but yeah, it's It is. It's fun. Yeah. And what I like that the tournament does is they set these games up to where Arkansas with Calipari, they need to beat, I think, Kansas, and it would be an upset. They're an underdog in it. But if you could get a Calipari, Rick Pitino, they hate each other. If you could get a second round matchup between those two, that would be something else. So I'm officially rooting for St. John's. I'm a St. John's fan during the tournament. I'm rooting for Pitino. I think it's a great story. St. John's hasn't been anything in so many years. So yeah, like once you get into the second round, now you're like, yeah, I like this team. NC State was a popular team last year with they had a bunch of seniors, a bunch of good college players. So you get those teams as well. But yeah, this is one of the great sports times, especially like you had said. And I did used to do this. I was working in radio when I did this as well. I would take off the Friday of the first weekend so you could get all the games, and I would go to whatever sports bar or a Hooters or something like that, and you watch the games. Actually, at the Fanatic, we used to do broadcast at Hooters for many years.
Yep.
During the Thursday and the Friday, the first Thursday and Friday of college of the March Madness. So yeah, it's very cool, and I don't have any analysis to give you other than that. I don't. I was saying this on the show yesterday. I was watching Anthony and Violations Greg I was watching them a couple days ago, but they were talking about the tournament, and I was just really impressed with the knowledge that they had, and it was like I could sit here. And it's funny, I actually, talking about this, I guess I was talking about it yesterday, how I really don't know much about college basketball, and I was so impressed with Anthony and Greg, just how much they knew compared to me. And I had one guy that didn't even DM me, email me, and was like, it's your job to know. Like, what do you mean? Like you should know. That's your job. That's why he tunes in, is to hear my analysis on whatever sport, right? And I responded this back to him, and I'm not meaning to be a dick or anything, but like, it's really not my job to know. Sorry. Like, every show is different. Anthony and Greg, like Anthony watches a lot more sports than I do, a lot, right? I watch every Phillies game. I love college football. I love NFL football. The Sixers are crappy. I'm not watching the Sixers anymore this year. The Flyers weren't as good. I watched a little bit earlier in the season. I like Mitchkov. I'm not really watching any more Flyers. Like, just keeping it real. I'm not watching a ton of college basketball. It's really not my job. If I was hosting a college basketball podcast, okay, then it's my job. If I was hosting a show where it's like, okay, we're doing a college basketball special show, like, all right, then I would probably know more about it. But it's really not my job. You know what my job is? It's my job to be a fan and to do this show. And that's what I'm going to do. But we will be at Parks Casino, Bet Parks, on Saturday, 1 to 3. So that's a great opportunity to come out and to watch the show. We'll be there. I believe Tyler's going to be there. Maniac Malloy is going to be there. Black Gritty had reached out to me and asked me what time we were going to be there. So we will be live at Parks Casino watching the game 1 to 3. And even then, right? Like, I'll give you an example. And a lot of people get mad at Charles Barkley for this. But it's pretty clear that the inside the NBA crew, because they're doing tournament stuff, they have no idea any of these players. And they don't pretend to. And then, like everybody else, by the end of the tournament, Charles knows a couple guys' names, and Shaq knows the guy. Usually Kenny Smith seems to know a lot more than everybody else. But anyway, so we're going to be watching the tournament just like everybody else. And looking forward to it. So we'll see you up there at Parks Casino on Saturday from 1 to 3. All right, the Whiners in Green Bay, it's official, have officially, we'll just say, applied for a rule change. Yes, the Eagles are so dominant, and the Eagles have taken over the NFL, and the stranglehold over the entire league by the Eagles, from the front office to the players to the play on the field to Nick Sirianni yelling and screaming. Like, the Eagles have just taken over the NFL. So the Packers, and we knew this was coming, they put the proposal out there. So they're trying to get a rule change. So the owners it's later this month. So March 30th, the owners meetings start, I believe, in Orlando. And they're trying to get the Tush Push banned. Trying to get it banned. And this is the proposal. Quote, to prohibit an offensive player from pushing a teammate who is lined up directly behind the snapper and receives the snap immediately at the snap. So what the Eagles do with the tush push. They don't want somebody coming in and pushing Jalen Hurts. We know that, right? They cite player safety and pace of play as the reason for the proposal and the rule change. They would need 24 of the league's 32 owners to vote in favor for it to take effect next season. Now, let me be very clear about this. There is pretty much a 0% chance that they're going to get 24 votes this year to ban it. You might get a couple. I would predict 3 or 4 or 5, something like that. They're not going to get 24. Could it potentially in the future get banned? We've talked about this before on the show. Yes, it could. If it starts becoming, when you're watching the game, being like, all right, too many teams are doing this. It's really slowing down the pace of play. Because right now, player safety, it's a 0.0%. The league actually released data on injury rate on the tush push plays, and there was a 0, not one injury. Now, you can say Chris Jones in the Super Bowl or whatever, but like, is that really fair? He lined up sideways, and that was in the Super Bowl. A 0.0% injury rate on tush push plays. And they're actually citing in the proposal player safety and the pace of play. I'm sorry. On a 3rd and short or a 4th and short, from the goal line or from the 40-yard line, wherever it is, when you do a tush push, if a team's going to go for it, what's the play that they're going to call? A Hail Mary? No, you need a yard. It's going to be the same play, except you're handing it off to the running back or you're doing a quarterback sneak. The Eagles have perfected it. The Bills like to do it, but Sean McDermott's somehow against it because of player safety as well. You know, nobody's gotten hurt. So now the Packers have decided that, oh, well, this needs to be banned because the Eagles are too good at it. Oh, it's player safety. Oh, but Mark Murphy, president of the Packers, there's been no injuries. So how can it be player safety? Oh, well, it's not a football play. Well, why is it not a football play? Well, it's not. Why is it not a football play? Well, it's a rugby play. Oh, well, I've heard rugby players say it's actually not a rugby play. Oh, well, it's just not fair. Why is this not fair? Oh, well, the offensive line is, they should be called for a false start. Well, then call them for a false start. Why do you have to ban the play? You know what I mean? Like, more or less, they're just saying it's not fair because I say it's not fair. And that's what we need to do. Just ban it because it's not fair. Why don't you do it with your team? Why don't you do it and be successful with your team? Maybe it'll help your team. But I think if enough teams start doing this, that's where you'll see it banned, because then you may see some injuries. And then the overall product where it's like, all right, now we have the 11th team that's doing the tush push. All right, this sucks. But, I mean, I'll tell you right now, it's intriguing. The fact that nobody can stop it for the most part, and the Eagles have like a 90% success rate on it, and it can't be stopped. And now you have teams trying to combat it, the whole Commanders thing. For everybody to say, like, you got to ban that, look at that, against the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. Wasn't that interesting that they were so freaking desperate to stop a play? They were doing everything possible till the referee had to invoke a rule that's never been used from the 40s? I don't know. I think it's intriguing. The league needs an enemy. Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs became an enemy because they won 2 straight and Travis Kelce and everything else. But you need a team like the Eagles that can be like, look how good they are. They have this play. And oh my God, it's annoying. And Eagles fans are annoying. And the coach is annoying. It's a great thing for the NFL. There's a 0% chance this gets banned at least this year. This portion of the show brought to you by GLAT Hair Restoration, GLATHairMM.com, 610-980-4000. Tyler, would you agree that this is going nowhere and that the Packers are just a bunch of whiny crybabies?
Yeah, I just don't think there's going to be enough votes for it. I think that you've had too many teams that have already come out and said, you know, either A, whatever, or B, like, it's on us to stop it. Was it Todd Bowles, I think?
Todd Bowles came out and was like,
it's kind of on us. I think so did, what was it, Houston's GM kind of said the same thing. I just think you're going to get too many teams. Now, like, are the Eagles allowed to vote in this? Like, they should be, right?
Yeah, they get a vote.
So that's a vote right there, right? You're not getting their vote.
They're not.
You're not going to get their vote, and you're not going to get Buffalo's vote because they run a lot of sneaks with Josh Allen too. Even if Sean McDermott's against it, you're not getting Buffalo's vote. So I just don't think you're going to get enough votes in this capacity to overturn this thing. You might get 5. You might get 7. You're not getting the needed number to get to that point. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, in 5 years could it happen? Yep.
Possibly. Well, and like you and I have said plenty of times, if there were 17 teams who effectively run the tush push, like 17 out of 32, the league would be like, okay, this may feel like an unfair advantage for the offense. There's really 1, and you could maybe say 2.
And that's why it's what makes it unique.
Sure.
Well, then why doesn't everybody else do this if this is such an unfair play?
Sure. And that's, I think that if it grows and grows and grows and you get a situation where you have a really good offensive line plus a really strong quarterback plus strong players that are able to push from behind, like it's just a perfect storm of the ability to do this play. There's a reason that 30-ish other teams can't run this play.
Yeah, I mean,
Jordan Love's falling all over himself when he tries to run.
Isn't that great? Oh my God, it's so good. Yeah, I mean, this is so quarterback driven. What quarterback wants to do it? Right, you know what I mean? Like, how many quarterbacks out there?
Sam Darnold's running that play.
Brock Purdy, and I'm not trying to rip any of these quarterbacks, but they don't want. No, Jalen's a big, strong dude, and they don't want the smoke from doing that. All right, some other rule changes here. I like this one. The Lions are looking to eliminate an automatic first down on defensive holding or illegal contact. Is it not the most annoying thing in a world where it's 3rd and 11? And you see the flag, and like, all right, it was illegal contact. He hit him 8 yards out to the line of scrimmage, or he grabbed him. You're giving him an automatic first down. It's not like pass interference. I don't know. But then when it helps your team, then you're like, okay, I like it. But it always burns me when you get to 3rd and 15. Oh, we got a flag, and it's defensive holding, and they get an automatic first down. I hate it. Lions also want a change to the playoff seeding. I don't know how I feel about this. I used to be anti. But when the 7-9 team, it used to be the 7-9 team, like the Seahawks the one year, I think, and they ended up beating the Saints, but they're the 3 seed or the 4 seed, and they get a home playoff game because they won the division, even though they're under 500. So then you have the best wild card team. Like this year, the Vikings were the 5 seed with 14 wins, which is like, how do you have 14 wins and you're playing road playoff games, right? So they want to take it to where it's like, okay, if you're the number 1 overall seed, you're the number 1 overall seed. But after that, the division winners, they don't get seeded just based on winning the division. Then it goes back to record. I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, the Eagles haven't gotten screwed in this area before. So, but like, you know what? Then, because everybody wants everything to be so fair, right? Well, it's not fair when you play in a really, really tough division and another team plays in a really crappy division and their strength of schedule is much different. Like the North teams right now, the NFC North teams right now, the Lions are a really good team. The Vikings last year were a really good team. The Packers are going to be a good team for years to come. You have 3 really good teams in that division. They're going to end up getting screwed if they don't win the division. Right? So, yeah, they will try to eliminate. Here's what I say. Tough noogies. Tough. I don't want that changed either. And then the Eagles want the same, they had proposed the same overtime rules in the playoffs as the regular season. In other words, it doesn't matter what happens on that first possession. Because now if you kick a field goal, you get the ball back. If they get a touchdown, though, the game's over. I hate that. I just you don't have to play an entire 15 minutes. That's fine. But and that's another thing. They want a 15-minute. They want it to be able to be a 15-minute quarter, essentially. But I don't like go down and score a touchdown and the game's over. No, each team should get a possession. Just give them a possession. It's not that difficult. I don't know. All right, coming up. This is going to be fun to talk about. By the way, so end of the show, last segment, block C of the show, questions, comments, and suggestions. So this is going to be like a morphed segment now because sometimes when I go in the car line to pick up kids from school, and there's stuff going on. I did this a lot with the Phillies during hot stove. So I'll put out there on Twitter. I'll say all right, questions, comments, and suggestions. What are you guys talking about? What do you want to talk about? And then I'll get good amount of tweets about anything, right? Whatever we're talking about. So I did it yesterday, but then the kid, she fell asleep. So I'm like, oh, it's a good time to do it. And then she woke up and she wanted Bob the Train. You know what Bob the Train is, Tyler?
We haven't gotten to Bob the Train yet. I'm sure we will.
You may not. I wish I didn't get to Bob the Train.
No, most of our consumption is Miss Rachel right now.
Ms. Rachel.
Yeah, we do a lot of Miss Rachel.
Bob the Train is an animated train that sings nursery rhymes and things like that, and it's really, really, really bad. It's so bad, it's good. And I've come up with an alter ego to Bob the Train, which is Larry the Train.
So do you find yourself now, since you have it on all the time, do you find yourself like singing the songs to yourself? Because I find myself singing the Miss Rachel songs. Like I'll be doing dishes and I'm like, what am I?
No.
What am I doing?
There's this one. There's a one Bob the Train song where the mom won't allow the little kid to get any food. The kid wants like burgers and pizza, and mom keeps like, mommy, what's in my tummy? It feels so empty. Give me something yummy. And it's like, can I have it? And mom keeps saying no. And it's really cruel.
It's like the ultimate "We Got Food at Home" song.
No, but then he said, can I have spinach? And the mom says yes. So it's supposed to be like, eat something healthy. The kid's 7 years old. Give him a freaking burger or a pizza. Like, do you not need the kid has to eat healthy, for God's sakes? Oh my God, Bob the Train's so bad. So yeah, so she's like, Bob the Train. She woke up all mad, so that I didn't get a chance to respond to any of the questions, comments, or suggestions. So Block C of the show today, along with what you send us between now and when we do the segment. So anything, questions, comments, or suggestions, sports, Eagles, Phillies, life, anything, just put it right there in the live chat, and Tyler will choose the best ones. And we have some from yesterday as well. Also coming up next, the Bengals are going to be the Bengals, man. The Cincinnati Bengals on display for being a pathetic organization. What are we talking about? We'll show you coming up right after this. Philly. John Marks, 2-2. Oh, yeah, we back. And we back live, and we hot. Talking about Rothman Orthopedics. I've been feeling good. I've been getting some workouts in. Did another workout yesterday. I've been doing my been going the Orange Theory on Sundays and getting a crazy workout in. And like when your body feels good, you love doing the workout. But like then when something goes wrong, whether it's your knee, your shoulder, your elbow, and you're like, oh, God, I want to do these workouts, but I can't. I'm just in too much pain. And then you stop doing it altogether because like, well, if I run or if I play golf or if I do this or I do that, and the weather is warm, it's spring, especially today, it's spring, right? So you don't do it, right? Well, you don't have to live like that. Rothman Orthopedics, this is why you go to Rothman. In addition to everything else with orthopedics, knee, hip, hand, back, shoulder, ankle, they have a doc that's laser focused on every body part, right? But you go there not just because of like major injury. If you love playing golf and I can't play golf anymore, my shoulder hurts too much, but you go to Rothman for God's sakes. I mean, geez, and this was me. I was like, no, I can't work out anymore. My shoulder's bothering me. I wouldn't go to a doctor because I could live with it. I managed it. Occasionally, I'd have to take ibuprofen. And then my range of motion was so bad, I finally went to Rothman, and they diagnosed me with frozen shoulder. 6 weeks of physical therapy, and it's been 100% since. Seriously, 6 weeks. I waited over a year to deal with this. Rothman Ortho. The weather's getting great. Out. If you can't do the stuff you love to do, I mean, it's worth a consultation. It's worth an appointment. Go to rothmanortho.com/PHLY. rothmanortho.com/PHLY. 30+ convenient offices, walk-ins, urgent cares. I've been to the Rothman urgent care and on more than one occasion. So there you go. rothmanortho.com. Get with them today. Hoo-ah. All right. GLAT Hair Restoration. And I really am screwed in the hair algorithm on Instagram. And I like leave comments I'm like, this is BS. Tyler, you know what they say in the comments now? If with these fake products that are on Instagram of all things, nice try, Diddy. Because you'll see some thing that's like, yeah, that doesn't work like that. This thing's a total piece of crap. I haven't bought anything, by the way, on social media that's been good. Everything is made in China, and it sucks. But anyway, so I see these ads, and I'll have a guy with this great head of hair, and he's spraying something on there. It's like, oh my God, look at that hair. I want that hair. Where's the before picture where he was losing his hair? They don't show that. They don't show that for good reason. Because, don't buy it. Don't believe it. I have before and after pictures. GLAT Hair Restoration. GLATHAIRMM.com is their website. GLAT Hair, G-L-A-T, hairmm.com. Before and after pictures, including from me. We flash them up here from time to time just to show, like, hey, this is legit. Look at my before picture. Look at my after picture. This is science, right? Like, this is 2025. So there's more ways than just restoration. Like, I had a hair restoration procedure. The products that are on the market today, if you're thinning and shedding and you want to just say, hey, my hair's okay right now. I don't want to lose any more hair. GLAT Hair Restoration. Over 30 years of industry experience. All they do is hair, and the results are exactly what shows that. GLATHAIRMM.com. Call their office, 610-980-4000. 610-980-4000. GLATHAIRMM.com. Hooah. There you go. We're back. Philly. John Marks. Actually, I mentioned Parks Casino before. Anthony is up there today. Anthony Violations, Greg, Andrew Frazier, up there today for their show. It's a little bit later on in the day, though, I believe. I don't think it's live at 9 o'clock. I believe it's, I should check Rich Hoffman's email, because PHLY Daily that comes out every day, and you can get it. You should get it. It's an amazing sports page from PHLY. Anthony is...
They'll be live at 11 today.
11 o'clock.
Yep, today and tomorrow.
11 to 1 today, tomorrow up at Parks Casino. So that should be a lot of fun. So get up there. But the Cincinnati Bengals, I don't know about you, but some of the franchises, the longtime franchises, like the Jacksonville Jags, when they suck, I don't particularly feel bad for their fan base. Right? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, screw them. Who cares? Right? But the Cleveland Browns, Detroit, I was happy to see Detroit. I have family in suburban Detroit, but I was happy to see Detroit, kind of like, because they've been so bad for so many years. And like now they're there, and they have a really good team, and I think they're going to be there for a while. So it's like fun. The Browns, the dog pound, right? Like, you kind of see yourself in the Cleveland fan base. Like, those poor fans, all they want is their football team to be good, and like, they just get in their own way all the time. They have a crappy owner, you know what I mean? And the Bengals. Now, the Bengals have Joe Burrow, and they have great talent at wide receiver, and they have some talent on defense and everything else, but they've really always had a lot of talent. The organization is so bad. The owner is notoriously cheap, right? And Bengals fans you reach that part of apathy where you just kind of laugh. But they were in a Super Bowl not that long ago, right? So, nobody thought they were going to sign T. Higgins. Nobody thought that they were going to sign. Maybe they thought Jamar Chase, but we thought the Bengals would screw it up. And honestly, I don't know if I would have signed T. Higgins to that kind of money. I might have traded him last year. But besides that, right? Like, they signed their own players. They signed 2 guys that they drafted. They signed 2 guys that they developed. Like, they signed them, and a lot of people didn't think that they would. I don't know. I was happy for Bengals fans that they did sign him. I didn't come away being negative. I like Joe Burrow a lot. I love Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow's awesome. I do. I was happy that they signed him. But the Bengals come out last night. You know how the Eagles do these hype videos, and they're awesome. They give you chills before playoff games or before big games. Give you chills. And they're so well produced. It's like you're watching a movie trailer. Bradley Cooper is narrating it. They always get a big name that narrates it. Brian Dawkins. It is on point. It is like A+ production value. The Bengals. I'm currently, if anybody knows anybody out there that has like a teenager or something that puts together TikTok videos or whatever that can produce these things, because there's a lot of them out there, send them my way, because I don't have enough time to do them, and I value it as a way to promote the show, right? The Bengals should have hired somebody from TikTok, like a kid from TikTok to produce. This is a freaking NFL franchise that is doing a victory lap because they signed their own players. Imagine that. You signed your own players that are like a great player and a very good player because your quarterback more or less said, hey, you better sign him. I'm going to be pissed. And you signed him. So they take a victory lap on social media, and the production levels like they did it on one of the old TVs with the bunny ears. Here's the Bengals doing a victory lap. Listen to how bad this is. Oh, my God.
Let's face reality. It's not the QT Eagles. They got to take care of Jamar Chase. They can't pay him. The Bengals want to create the impression that they tried.
Listen to that.
You didn't try, you failed.
Hey, you're going to be able to get a deal done? Ideally, it's a situation that doesn't deal with reality. You're not going to be able.
Yeah, I don't see how they pay. I don't see how. I'm not saying it can't be done. I just don't see how.
I thought that this was going to be what we have come to expect.
But for a second,
the same old thing.
What is going on with the audio? What is that?
Yeah, this is not like I didn't mess with this in any way. Like I didn't do anything to have a low blow at the Bengals or anything like this. This is how it sounds on Twitter.
If you go to your phone or your PC or your laptop that normally sounds great when you play stuff, it's going to sound as bad as this. Go ahead, continue it.
You're not going to get the deals done with the wide receiver. I was wrong.
What's this?
This is what happens when you F around. Just find out. We're intent on winning and doing what's necessary to make sure we do it.
Higgins and Chase are back.
They are not the same old Bengals, and they're not acting like
Yeah, who they?
All right, like I don't mind the idea of doing a big FU to everybody that said we couldn't do it. Man, if that means you have to outsource that to some production house that does it, then do it. Get it professionally made. Dude, I'm telling you, they had some intern that just like has nothing else to do sitting in the office and on CapCut, which is something I use to produce stupid promos to put on my Twitter. He used and came up with that. They go on their phone, they record these freaking videos that they find on Twitter or Instagram, and they mash it all together in a collage. And then Mike Brown or some loser from the Bengals, it's like, oh, look what our intern put together. They're like, oh, this is unbelievable. Put it up there. And they tweet that crap out. Oh my God. This is a multi-billion dollar business. Get it professionally made. Get an intern make it. Oh my God. Or maybe it was like a front office member's kid. And they thought that like it's a good idea to put that out on social media. I couldn't believe it when I heard it this morning and watched it this morning, Tyler. Literally, everybody that works at this place could put out a better production, a better produced 60-second promo than that. That's an NFL team.
I will tell you this right now, I am a huge believer in transparency. I think amongst our producers, I am the least skilled technical producer. My skill set lies in being on the air with you and talking and things like that, and doing those kind of things. I am the least skilled technical producer that we have, and I'm just being honest with you. I could have done something significantly better than that. Significantly better than that. That was dread. Like, you're right. It looked like it was done on an
iPhone.
Yeah, and just kind of mashed together. And they said, hey, here you go. This is some cool violin music, which, by the way, the music was way too loud.
It was awful. No, they didn't mix it. Who mixed it?
Terrible.
Bro, like, seriously? that was done on an iPhone.
I think so, probably.
Like, there's a couple different programs you can use, and on the iPhone, you can do a better production of that. You can do a better production of that on your freaking phone. There's more industry grade things you can use. And then there's like, hey, you're going to pay us $25,000 to produce stuff for you, right? Like there's professional production houses that do stuff, which is what an NFL franchise should be using, not CapCut or putting it in Instagram. Instagram now has a new thing where you can more or less produce stuff. That's what that was. I have CapCut on here on my phone. I have Premiere Pro. And I could have done a better job than the Bengals. So, and they're bragging. So here's the other thing. right? I hope they're ready, because to do something like that, to me, what they need to be thinking behind the scenes is the message this year to the players is F everybody. It's us against the world. They didn't think we were going to sign Jamar Chase. They didn't think we were going to bring back T. Higgins. They didn't think we were going to pay our players. They wrote us off. And that's not what we're doing. We're here to win. You know what I mean? Like, the message is F the NFL, F the media, F everybody else, is us against the world. Look at what the Eagles did. Look at what Nick Sirianni did. Look what the players did. They used the Chiefs' motivation of what they did at the parade a couple years ago, what the national media was talking about, a three-peat. Oh, they're going to throw the three-peat T-shirts were already made or whatever. And the Eagles were like, we're going to kick their ass. We're a better team. And then you saw it in the Super Bowl. I just hope that they're ready, because what they've done with the cap cut thing that they did right there is, like, they've more or less just said, like, because that's it. You're more or less saying F you to everybody, right? We signed our guys. F you. Let's go.
Well, and so here's the thing. You brought up, organizations and fan bases that you kind of feel for, right? So I went back and I was just looking at the numbers, because I remember, like, the Marvin Lewis years where they lost, like, every year in the wild card round, right?
They win 10 games and lose in the playoffs.
The year before they went to the Super Bowl was 2020. They were 4-11-1. They were kind of just starting. They had just drafted Burrow and things like that. Between the Super Bowl and their last playoff win, how long do you think it was between their last playoff win and then when they lost in the Super Bowl in 2021?
Last playoff win was the win that got them to the Super Bowl in '88.
Their last close. Their last playoff win was a wild card round in 1990. So they went from 1990 to 2020, 30 years without a single playoff win.
Can you imagine?
You have some success. You draft some really good players. But let's be honest too, John. I think they went to the Super Bowl. It was wow, this team's here, right? The following year they go 12-4. They have a really good team. They lose in the conference championship. There was the offside penalty, right, against the Chiefs, and they were so close to getting back to a second Super Bowl. Since then, and I know they've had some injuries and things like that, but since then, they were 9-8 and 9-8. They finished last in the North, which was a super competitive division in 23. They finished third in the North in 2024. If you're going to beat your chest like this, you better go out and produce. The Bengals better be a good team this year, or they are going to get looked back on and kind of laughed at. And now they're talking about, listen, you have to pay your good players. But if you're thinking about the cap, which the Bengals clearly have not figured out how to manipulate just yet, you're talking about paying Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, 40% of your cap? And you haven't even included Hendrickson, who knows what's going to happen with him. Does he get traded? Does he sit out?
The word is he'll sit out unless he gets a new contract.
Like, they're in a pretty peculiar spot where their offensive line still isn't particularly good. Their defense last year, they were a 38-point differential, but that's only because they scored 470 points. Yeah. They gave up 434 points last year. That's the overall, one of the worst defenses in the league in terms of giving up points.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, you have to be able, if you're going to do something like this and say, hey, told you so, you're going to have to back it up. You got to follow it up this year.
And this is a bad organization. Joe Burrow actually came in. Bengals are a terrible organization. He came in and he changed that organization around. It's tough to do year after year. So, like, you're right. If your defense sucks, you have the best quarterback in the world. If you have a bad head coach, which arguably you could say that he's not a great head coach. If you have bad GMs, bad owners, I honestly just hope they're ready for it. Maybe we'll try to do this next segment. Apparently, the Browns and Carson Wentz are in talks for him to maybe get signed by the Browns. There's, like, quote unquote mutual interest. Awesome. What are they going to bring? Carson Wentz is so cooked.
A quarterback room of
Kenny Pickett,
Carson Wentz, and Deshaun Watson. That might be the worst quarterback room in the NFL.
In the world, man. They're going to draft somebody. Don't
I think they're going to have to, right?
They're going to draft Shedeur Sanders. They are. Yeah, Stefanski. I think Kevin Stefanski can look at him and say, like, hey, you know what? Like, his ceiling may not be the highest in the world, but, like, he can run an efficient offense and get the ball out of his hands and everything else.
So that's the thing. I think when you talk about these two quarterbacks, I think Ward's ceiling is higher. I think Sanders' floor is higher.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
You know?
for sure.
And so are you drafting on upside and skill set, or are you drafting on somebody who could step in day
Yeah.
one and be a starting quarterback?
Cam Ward could be this year's Jaden Daniels.
Cam Ward could be legit.
Yep. And Shedeur Sanders may be a B-plus quarterback. Like, that's his ceiling.
Sure.
Which you can win with if you have a ton of talent and a good coach and everything else. But like, really, Carson Wentz, who the hell's signing Carson Wentz to compete for anything? Oh my God, he's so cooked. And I don't say that because I hate, like, I saw there was a someone posted a video of Brandon Graham scoring a touchdown against the Rams back in 2017 that sealed that win. And he called it the most bittersweet win in Eagles history for him. I'm like, bittersweet win? It's like, yeah, because Carson Wentz was injured. It's like, but yeah, they won the Super Bowl and they won a Super Bowl last year. Who cares? Like, you're looking at 2025. Is that a bittersweet win? And there was a lot of people who were like, well, you know, it's a Carson. Like, you got to give him credit for that season. Like, I'm so over that conversation. Yeah, well, I do give him credit for that season.
I remember because I was producing post game show on the Fanatic at the time, and I remember leaving the Fanatic like really downtrodden.
Oh, dude, it was bad.
Like, I remember being like, oh, this season's cooked. This has been a great season and it's cooked. I remember being really, really downtrodden leaving that week. But yeah, I mean, I think we've had that conversation a billion times. The guy deserves his flowers for what he did in the first 13, 14 weeks of the season.
Yeah, he was great. Yeah, like if you're going to argue that he had nothing to do with it, then like fine, argue that. I mean, good luck. He was an MVP candidate. Like, we don't need to have the Carson Wentz conversation anymore, please. It's not a bittersweet moment. They've won screw Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is the anti-Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham faced with Philadelphia, pointing and staring down the barrel of Philadelphia. He faced us, and he said, I'm going to win. And he did. Carson Wentz tapped out and got traded, and thank God, because he would have never turned it around here. It was the best thing ever that he demanded to be out of here. They got a first-round draft pick out of him and more. All right, coming up, questions, comments, suggestions, QCS from the show and from the kid pickup line. That's coming up. Also, Phillies fever, as we have a problem in the Phillies rotation with an injury. What does that mean? Our PHLY Phillies insider, Tyler Zulli, gives us the latest. That's coming up right after this. Philly, John Marks. All right, well, listen. So Tyler, I'm going to let you get ready for Shady Rays. I'm going to tell you about Bet Parks Casino. Because as I've mentioned here a couple times, we will be out at Parks on Saturday watching the games. Oh, man, watching the games is going to be good. 1 to 3. Saturday afternoon. Anthony is live today and tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., watching the games, kissing babies, placing bets, and everything else. But listen, right now, my casino of choice, Parks Casino, just get on the BetParks app. Get on the BetParks app. If you don't want to go to the state-of-the-art sports book, all the table games, poker room, and everything else, get on the app right now because, man, you know what time it is. Tournament time. So here's some futures. So you got to get on this before the game starts. $25 bet on Duke pays $80 if they win it. $25 on Florida pays $100. $25 on Auburn pays $125. We talked about St. John's before, my team, the Red Storm. $25. St. John's wins it $600. $625 on Michigan State. That's right. And there's always another way to win on the BetParks online casino and sportsbook app. The only app I ever would use and recommend to bet sports and to play all my favorite casino games. That's right. Live dealers, blackjack, roulette, poker, and more. Hot online slots. And they're based on the movies. Rocky, Ted, Goonies, Breaking Bad, streaming shows, Peaky Blinders. All your favorite classic casino games from wherever you are. And new users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Go to betparks.com, download the app, enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, or Michigan for the BetParks app. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hooah.
Yeah, let me tell you about our friends over at Shady Rays because while it's been nice the last couple of days, it feels like this is kind of fake spring because if you look at the weather report for the next couple of days, we're kind of back into the 40s. So even though it's cold or going to be cold here over the weekend or so, it's never too early to start thinking about those summer plans and time out in the sun. And that's why our friends over at Shady Rays are helping you get the right frame of mind with the best frames and polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglass company offering a world-class product, and they are rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people, including myself, because the durable frames, the crystal clear optics, the best look, they're going to protect your eyes and look good on your face as well. They have so many different options, so many different styles, so many different color pairings that you're almost bound to find one that works for you. And the best part about Shady Rays, if your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't worry about it. Shady Rays offers the best protection in all of eyewear because every pair is backed by their lost or broken replacement program. And if you don't love the shades that you buy, you can exchange them for a new pair or return them worry-free up to the first 30 days after purchase. There's no risk to you when you shop. Shady Rays always has your back. And PHLY viewers and listeners, go to shadyrays.com right now and you'll get 35% off a pair of polarized sunglasses when you use the code PHLY. And that's why over 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars. So head on over to shadyrays.com and use the promo code PHLY today.
All right. Thank you, Tyler Zuli. Questions, comments, and suggestions coming up here in a second. Tyler will we'll get that all together. 1 second. I just had a couple other things I wanted to, or one other thing before we get to that. Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, like yesterday, came out. The Vikings don't want him. Then Mike Florio said, "Well, listen to the way that the insider worded it. It said they're not interested in him at that time." And you got Steelers players. Cam Hayward came out and was like, "What's my sales pitch to Aaron Rodgers? Like, come play for the Steelers." So, like, at some point soon, I say, doesn't he have to make a decision? But I guess he really doesn't. I mean, I think he has to make a decision if the Steelers say, "Hey, you tell us now or we're moving on." Then maybe they have to do it. But he's holding up everybody else. He's holding up backups. He's holding up other starters. He's holding up everything. But I said it last week, and I'll say it again today. I don't think the Vikings are interested. It appears that they're not interested. And then he's going to go to play for the Steelers. And if the Steelers say, "Hey, F you, we don't want you anymore," he'll go play for the Giants. He's not retiring. Aaron Rodgers is not retiring. And, it'd be so much fun to see him go play for a really, really bad Giants team because he will not hang it up because he's not ready to hang it up. Oh, my God, that would be great. They'd be so bad with Aaron Rodgers. Their offensive line wouldn't be able to protect him, and he would look old back there, and he'd be getting smashed all over the place. So that's the latest update with Aaron Rodgers. All right, Phillies fever. After we do some questions, comments, and suggestions. The graphics were taken from the car line yesterday when I was waiting to pick up the kids from school. So, Tyler, take it away. What do we got?
Yes, we got a couple from, like you said, from tweets for when you were tweeting earlier. We'll take a couple from our live chatters throughout the rest of the show as well. But here's your first question in questions, comments, and suggestions. And it comes from BFPSU123. Phillies win total in Vegas is 91. You taking the over or the under?
Well, 91 to me, if the team is healthy, and I know we'll talk about an injury that's already happening, but this rotation is so deep, and just having Zach Wheeler, and Tyler, I think Tyler is as high as me on Chris Sanchez, or I'm as high on Chris Sanchez as Tyler is. I think this dude might be the best pitcher on the team this year between him and Zach Wheeler. He's having that kind of spring. His stuff is, his velocity's up, and that does not mean that he doesn't know how to pitch. He's got great changeup. He's got great stuff. He's got great movement on his pitches. He's learning how to pitch as well. So I think just based on the rotation, and I think a lot of people also are looking at this, at the team, and like, this is still a very good lineup. Now, are they a World Series winning lineup? I'm not saying that, but like, Kyle Schwarber's still a stud. Bryce Harper's still a stud. Castellanos is still an above average player, right? Like, they still have very good players in this lineup. So I would say I would take the over on the 91. I think they're a low 90s win team. Now, if you have major injuries in your rotation, then all right, then that could be trouble.
I think you could say that about anybody, though, right? Like, you could say that about the best rotations. You could say that about the bad rotations. Like, the Baltimore Orioles opening day starter this year is Zach Eflin. their rotation is not particularly strong. If they lose anybody, they're going to be in a world of trouble. Now, the Phillies have a little bit of a built-in kind of shelter for their rotation because they have 5 guys who they really trust. Do I want to see Taijuan Walker if anybody gets hurt? Not particularly, but you trust the other 4 guys, right? If Luzardo bounces back from injury, he could be a stud. Nola is Mr. Consistency. You and I are in lockstep with Sanchez. I am stoked for Sanchez this year. And Zach Wheeler is one of the 3 best starters in baseball and might be the best starter in baseball. Like, your rotation is really, really set up to kind of buoy you if one of these guys gets injured. You start losing multiple guys, that could be said for anybody, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're really relying on their starters, and their bullpen's kind of iffy right now. But it's not that outrageous for Dombrowski to say, like, hey, it'll work itself out. We'll figure it out. There'll be a minor league guy or a guy that you're not expecting. So, yeah. Ranger peaked in the first half of last year. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think the injury. So, to me, listen, I know he got hurt in a different way, but I think that the game that he took the liner off the hand, I think it really affected him.
Yeah.
I think that was really, really impactful.
Changed the season at that point. It did. All right, what else we have?
All right, your next question here from the tweets comes from Mike at Boston Sucks. A thought: the Eagles have drafted so well in recent years, it has to factor into their draft plans now. Example, if they took a corner in round 1, they'd be virtually guaranteeing one of Mitchell, DeJean don't get a second contract because the Eagles can't pay 3 corners top dollar.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you have to just look in the window of this is your opportunity to win Super Bowls over the next couple of years. Like, can they afford to pay all these great young players? I mean, the Eagles have like at that point, I think your offense has to be less expensive. Right now, the defense is cheap and the offense is expensive. And at some point, that's got to turn a little bit. For the long time, if you remember, when Jalen wasn't making any money, when those guys were on rookie contracts, the defensive line, the Eagles, they paid their offensive line. Everybody was making money on there. But their defensive line, Fletcher was making big money. Brandon was making big money. They were paying their D-line. And Slay was making money. You know what I mean? Malcolm was making money. So I think it kind of flips. You take the best player available, and you don't worry about anything else. You take the best player that's going to be good for you for the next 4 or 5 years, depending on where they draft them. So I don't think you can worry about anything. I mean, it's an interesting thought because they will have to eventually not pay somebody, maybe. I don't know. All right, what's next?
That's the whole point of drafting well, right? Like, you're replenishing because the theory is if you draft 7 guys in the draft and 4 of them are really, really good players, how many of them are you retaining to a second contract? Maybe 3.
3,
right? Maybe it's 3, and then you have to replenish, and
Milton Williams.
Restock. Right?
Milton Williams outprices himself. You draft the next Milton Williams, or Ojimo comes in, steps in.
Sure, Milton Williams was a nice 3rd-round pick when they got him. He ended up being a really productive player. He ended up getting a ton of money because of it. You're right. So now it's Ojimo, and maybe they draft a Walter Nolan type player or somebody along those lines to restock the interior.
Yep. All right, what's next?
All right, next question for you comes from Jarrett with an A. Says, as they stand now, are the Eagles better, as good, or worse than they were this past year?
I mean, I'm not going to say worse. It's hard. I mean, they just plowed through the NFL, and they were winning 34-0 against the Chiefs in the second half of the Super Bowl. But so it's hard to say better. But I look at this defense. Like, why should I not feel as good about this defense? They lost Slay, and that might be a considerable loss. We'll see. But they were wise in what they did. They signed a veteran corner. They can draft a corner high if they want to. They have guys that are stepping in. I love what they've done on the defensive line. And I actually I saw a quote from Daniel Jeremiah on a podcast that he did, and he was talking about how he's talking to people around the league. That's what Daniel Jeremiah does at the NFL Network, and a lot of agents and GMs and people like that are saying, like, yeah, right now the Eagles, players want to go play for them for a year. Because if you get 7 sacks with the Eagles or you get 7 sacks with the Jags, which 7 sacks means more? 7 sacks with the Eagles or 7 sacks with the Jags? 7 sacks with the Bears? 7 sacks with the Raiders? Of course, 7 sacks with the Eagles. Everybody's going to see it. You get a contract off of that. So the Eagles are in a good spot right now. All right, any more here, Tyler?
Yeah, we got 2 more for you. This one comes from Markel Futz. Says, should the NBA think about doing more series like baseball, more strategy during the season?
Who cares? No, I don't. When they do back to backs or whatever, does anybody really care about the home? They do the home and home. I'm just telling you, NBA's in trouble. NBA is not in a good spot. And like Luka being traded to the Lakers, they beat the Nuggets last night. And I know Jokic and Murray wasn't playing, but still, like they have now. LeBron would have just withered away in Los Angeles, putting up big numbers and being he's still a great player even at 40. But Luka, what he brings to that team, that they become a dangerous team with Luka. He's that good. So that was great for the league. But like, I don't know, man. It's the NBA's not in a good spot. I've never watched less NBA basketball than I have right now. All right, what else?
All right, last one for you. This one comes from INS. It's a comment, but I'll ask it to you in the form of a question. What do you think about the NHL starting around September and ending on or around Christmas?
Should start in, he says April.
Or April, excuse me. I don't know why I said September. Starting around April.
In the summer? I mean, all right, so the reasoning would be that you're not going up against the NFL?
The NBA and the NFL. So instead you're going up against baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know if it helps anything, right? Like I think either you like hockey or you don't. I don't know if you're being like, oh man, I'd really like to watch the Canucks play tonight, but I gotta check out that Memphis Grizzlies game that's on NBA TV. I don't know if one has to do with another. I don't know. No, I don't think so, and I don't think that. Like you always see this, it's like, well, Major League Baseball needs to go to 140 games. Well, they're not going to because they want the revenue from those 22 home games, so they're not going to do that. Yeah, I don't know. The product, the 3-point product of the NBA does not do anything for me. The Celtics, and they're a great team. They're a great team. They want to shoot. Their whole goal is to shoot more threes than you. That is their philosophy. That is Joe Mazzulla and the Boston Celtics. They want to shoot more threes and at a higher percentage than you. That's how you win. Doesn't do anything for me. Just doesn't. Jimmy Butler going to Golden State was a good trade too. Golden State's been a different team with him. So that's a good story. There are reasons to watch the NBA. The reasons to watch the NBA isn't to see guys chuck threes for 4 quarters. I hate it. Hate it. And as Dave Dewar says right there, yes, summer's for baseball.
Well, I think the thought about, and I agree. Obviously, you and I are both big baseball guys, so that's how we feel about the summer. I think the thought of the question is, would you rather go, like, what product would you rather go up against? The NFL, the juggernaut of the NFL, and the NBA, which I know has had some kind of cracks in the foundation the last couple of years, but it's still a global product. And the NHL's not to say that it's not, but it's definitely behind the NBA. Or would you rather go up against baseball, which feels more like a, you either love baseball or you love the Phillies. You know what I mean? Like
hardly a juggernaut to go up against.
I think there's more Phillies fans or team-specific fans than there are baseball fans.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Whereas that.
Whereas an NHL fan might be a true diehard NHL fan. It's probably in a similar nature, but you're saying you're going up against the MLB versus the NFL, where like, I know you and I will sit down at 1, we'll watch the Eagles at 1, we'll watch the 4 o'clock game, we'll watch Sunday night game, we'll watch Monday night game, we'll watch Red Zone in between. Like you're watching anybody and everybody because you have fantasy football implications, you have all of that. So I think there's merit to the move, but I also don't know how much it would help.
Probably you would have the same amount of viewers. Let's just get a game against the Russians again. Get the Soviets in here, the KHL. Let's get a team in Russia, a franchise in Russia. How about that? That would help things. Shout out to everybody that's watching on TV. Remember, you can always watch on Xfinity, Samsung Plus, Roku. Slide on over to allphly.com to watch the rest of the program as we go into overtime. And the Eagles won overtime. They want it to be the same in the playoffs as the regular season, which I agree with. I do. It should be the same. All right, quickly on a Philly segment here. Tyler Zula, you're gonna be doing your PHLY Phillies video on demand today.
Yes.
And the big story from yesterday was Ranger Suarez, after his last start, experiencing back pain. Rob Thompson said yesterday that it's going to be like they're going to know in the next day or two whether Ranger's going to start the season or not in the starting rotation. I'm gonna predict, and I think it's an easy prediction, that he won't. He will start the season on the IL. They can backdate it 3 days, and he misses a start or two. Taijuan Walker, hello.
Yeah, I think it was probably pretty inevitable, John, that he was going to make the team anyway. Now it seems like it's a foregone conclusion because I think you're right. I think Ranger's going to start the year on the IL because, like you said, it may only actually end up being one start because they have the day off in between opening day and game 2. They have the day off in between the home opener and the second game of that series against the Rockies. So they only play, they play 6 times in the first 8 days. You could cycle through the rotation with a 4-man rotation twice. You may not even need Taijuan Walker to start technically until the 9th game or the 12th game or whatever it comes out to be.
Right.
So I think you're right. I think Ranger starts the year on the IL. I still think Matt Strom's going to start the year on the IL. He's basically said, if they let me, I'm going, but it's up to them. And I think the Phillies are going to take the cautionary route because it's early in the season. They don't want to mess with the shoulder and things like that and let him ramp up. So I think you're going to see Ranger and Strom start the year on the IL, which means it's probably going to be Taijuan Walker. And then I think it's going to be Nabil Krismet as the other guy. So you're going to see 2 guys that maybe you didn't necessarily expect to make the team out of spring training to make the team out of spring training.
Yep. Taijuan, as Fit Dad CEO brings up, he had a couple of good starts, and then his last time out there, he got blasted.
Yeah, he was terrible, and his velo was down. It was down to like 92. Can
we keep it real? I wouldn't expect to see the Taijuan Walker we saw in his free agent walk year when the Phillies signed him.
No.
Right, and if he can pitch to a 4 ERA and give you 5 innings out there to where you're not killing your bullpen for a couple starts. If he gives you a 4,
right, I'm fine with it because you're already paying the guy anyway. If he gives you a 4, that's great because quite frankly, most 5s are pitching around a 4 ERA anyway, and he's really like a 6 or a 7. If he gives you a 4, that's amazing. If he gives you the 7.1 he posted last year, that's where the problems come.
Right, and that's where he'll end up getting designated for assignment at that point.
I think at some point they're going to start considering it, right?
Yeah.
Because now you're down to $36 million left. You're probably good.
No one's trading for him unless he looks good,
and nobody's claiming him.
Right. So you sometimes you sign guys and they're bad contracts, and you gotta it's a sunk cost. You just get rid of them. They're not there yet, and honestly, I'm glad that they actually have somebody that they can. I don't know if you can rely on him, but you can put him in there. Because otherwise you're going with a minor league guy, and they really don't have an obvious. They could go with the bullpen, the Ross guy, the Joe Ross.
Yeah, Joe Ross could theoretically start.
Yeah, he's probably your next guy to step. If this back is a big thing with Ranger, that sucks. But Painter hopefully is going to be able to come up later this season. You can get by if you have those 4 starters, and then you need to figure out the 5th starter. You can get by.
Because you're right. Because the other option right now is probably Tyler Phillips. And he hasn't been good in spring training either.
You do bullpen games and things like that. You can kind of piece it together. It'd be great if Taijuan Walker came out and said, "Listen, I'm going to give you 5 innings of 4 runs, and the ERA is going to be who cares? You can't kill the bullpen." That's it. Anyway, all right. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment. If you're not watching live, comment on the show. Let us know what you think. Just like you're chatting live. But again, you can chat every morning live at 8 a.m. And make sure you're watching or you're subscribing at allphly.com to PHLY Daily. Rich Hoffman Jr., he spends a lot of time putting this together. And it is really, really good. Like the headline today is, oh no, not Rangers back. Yep, Rangers back. And just a little bit of everything from all the different teams. And how about if you want to go down and see opening day with Tyler Zulli? Yep, Philly Sports Trips is headed down to, oh, look at that. Headed down to Washington. March 27th, opening day. You can find out more. And you can also get that. So that's why you go to allphly.com to check out all that. Subscribe to PHLY Daily. It's amazing. Rich does a great job. He does all the work for you, so you don't have to do it. You should appreciate that. All right, we'll talk to everybody tomorrow on a Friday. Anthony is live at 11 today. So if you're looking for Ant, you see he's not on. He's at Parks Casino today and tomorrow at 11 a.m. And we'll be there on Saturday from 1 to 3. So we'll talk to everybody tomorrow live at 8. See ya.
We
all silly like the mayor.